Musician Danny Michel has described it as a cross between the Millennium Falcon and the Grand Budapest Hotel. In fact, it was an unforgettable journey through the high Arctic on a famed Soviet icebreaker with a collection of artists, scientists, and one very well-known Canadian astronaut. Danny Michel joins us now to tell us about his experience and the album that came out of it, Khlebnikov. Welcome, Danny.
Hi, how are you?
It's really great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
How did you get involved in this expedition?
Well, I was the luckiest guy in the world. Evan and Chris Hadfield, Chris and his son, gave me a call.
And Chris Hadfield is the famous
yeah,
astronaut.
He's on the back of our $5 bill.
Yeah.
They called me and said, would you ever be interested? We're maybe doing this trip.
They have your number?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they said, would you be interested in going to the Arctic? Mm-hmm. And I was, I was like, of course, let me just cancel everything I was doing before. And so they invited me and had this idea to take a bunch of artists up to the Arctic. And so it was, like I said, I was the luckiest guy in the world.
I want to show viewers what it was like, but I want to ask you first, you were on it for 18 days, the Icebreaker.
Yep.
How did your life change in those 18 days? What could you not do there that you could do in your everyday life?
Well, my life changed by going to this little corner of our planet that most people never get to see, that was just life-changing and beyond words that I could describe how beautiful it was. Our life changed in other small ways, like we had no communication with, we were at the top of the planet, the planet comes here, we were like right at the top, and we had no, there's no cell coverage, there's no internet, nothing for 18 days, which is a long time, 18 days to be completely out of touch with your family. And, so that was a neat adjustment too.
Well, let's give viewers a look at the Icebreaker you called home for 18 days.
Yeah.
Here's the footage you took of the beast. Let's take a look. That looks like something out of a movie. Like it's fake, but you live that.
Yeah, and when for 18 days, it's a bizarre thing happens where you kind of get used to it. And that's what was really weird, that, after a while, it kind of became normal.
You say that the Khlebnikov is a cross between a giant floating Grand Budapest Hotel and the Millennium Falcon. Why?
Yeah, wow. It's just this, it's hard to explain. It's just this intense, not beat up, it's in great shape, but it's like, it's old and
sturdy
and like, so everything's got these giant knobs and dials that are like, from the old days. And it's just this wild machine just, crushing through this harsh environment. And at the same time, then you go inside and it's all these little hallways and corridors and little tiny rooms. And to me, we all got on it. And I just thought, it looked like a Wes Anderson movie. I thought Wes Anderson has to just come film a movie on this boat. It was just it's a really visually cool thing to see.
What are some of the ship's features?
Oh, there's a sauna and there's a swimming pool that we never went.
There's a swimming pool?
Yeah, there's a swimming pool. We never went in it because it was only kind of maybe the size of two of these little platforms we're sitting on.
Okay.
And they would, every now and then, the bottom of the pool was, I think, painted black, so you couldn't really see in how deep it was. And then all of a sudden one day there'd be no water in it. And then there'd be water in it again, and they would suck the water in and out of the ocean. So it was ocean water. And it would be just freezing cold. And the Russians, I believe, they would plunge, just do a dunk in it, and then run in the sauna. And they kind of used it more as like a dunk tank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What else was on the ship?
Oh, there was a helicopter pad at the back with 2 helicopters, 6 Zodiac boats. Yeah, it had a pretty great, they called it the toy box. So we were out every day going on adventures in these old choppers, and boats.
And you actually descended into the metal bowls of the 24,000 horsepower ship to explore where it got its power. What did you find?
It took me 18 days.
24,000?
24,000 horsepower, this thing. And it took me 18 days to befriend the right Russians with broken English and not being able to speak, to befriend them, to try to let me to come down and see the engine room that went down 4 flights of engines. And it's on that show there. I give a tour of it, and it's just, it's insanity.
What was the most awe-inspiring moment for you?
Oh, I remember there was one moment that I'll never forget. It was about 4 in the morning, and I was in bed, and you have your normal, like, feeling of being on a boat, right? But then this had, as it's hitting the ice, you have a constant, like, like it's like, you feel like, bang, hitting something. And it was really, you know, hitting hard one night, and I thought, I gotta get up and see what this, I gotta see what is going on, because obviously we're going through some big ice. So at 4 in the morning, I get up and the sun's out because it's bright, and I put on all my gear and I go. I just stood at the front of the boat, right at the bow, like in Titanic, and just I was alone, just seeing this sight that was like pieces of ice the size of tennis courts, just bouncing around, flipping, and it was just hard for it's hard for your brain to actually like calculate what you're looking at, because you've never seen anything like this. And
when I saw that footage,
it was so beautiful. Like, it was an incredible, and yeah.
I guess the beauty outweighs the fear you would have, because I saw the footage and I was like, I don't know if I could do that. And in 2009, the Khlebnikov was trapped in Antarctic sea ice.
It got trapped in the ice.
Yeah. Were you ever afraid that something like that would happen to you?
No, I mean, at first it was. I guess at all times there was danger. I mean, we would be in these little Zodiac boats in the water. Around the icebergs, and you know, if you were in that water for more than 4 minutes, you're done. And then we're in these old helicopters going over the glaciers, and I was like, they all kind of, you look at them and you think, oh, I hope these things make it. But you know, I kind of kept my eye on Chris Hadfield, and I thought, well, if he's not worried, he's one of the greatest pilots in the world.
And he's been to space, so
yeah, and I mean, he's a jet fighter pilot. He knows this stuff. So if he's going, I'm going. And then I just gave up being scared and thought, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go.
Well, what a way to go, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna like miss these opportunities because I'm afraid. You know?
Here's the route that you took from Ottawa to Greenland to Nunavut. You spent 18 days aboard the Kapitan Khlebnikov, even traveling through the Northwest Passage.
Yeah.
You have said it was the closest thing I can imagine to leaving the planet. Paint us a picture of what it looks like up there.
Oh, it was changing all the time. Greenland was just gorgeous. We were in our T-shirts for part of it. And then we get up through all the fjords. We stopped at the Franklin graves of the grave sites of the Franklin expedition, and wow, was that ever, you know, humbling and amazing.
Oh, what happened there?
Well, we're the first explorers that found this route, you know, didn't make it, and their graves are all there, and right up above 80 degrees and into just like these pieces of, you know, ice that are like the size of the Grand Canyon. And it's hard to explain. It's really hard for me to explain, but it just immense, stunning beauty that I'd never seen before.
Did you see any signs of effects of climate change?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not qualified to speak technically on climate change, but you know, I can tell you we saw glaciers that had receded like kilometers in the last, you know, few years, that, you know, that had to, you know, that before had taken hundreds of years to move something that far. So yeah, but at the same time, we saw polar bears, and they were all, you know, big and chubby and healthy, and they were doing good. So that was really beautiful to see.
Let's show a clip of that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? What was it like to see a polar bear?
That was the most beautiful moment ever. The cool thing about that is we were in that spot. We were in an area where they said only submarines could normally go. So the idea that we were probably the first human beings that bear has ever seen, which was kind of hard. It's an interesting thing to think about. Like, we're looking at each other for the first time. I'd never seen a polar bear. He'd never seen a human being.
You're sizing each other up.
Yeah, well,
what a powerful moment.
And he was just over the bow of the boat, and like you could just hear him sniffing and looking at us. It was like, ooh, there's another scary moment.
You were able to leave the ship. Where did you go?
Well, we not alone. You weren't able to leave the ship. We'd go out every day. We'd go on excursions. We would fly to glaciers, to small communities, and we'd take zodiacs out around the icebergs, and yeah.
And you met some locals?
Yeah. Lots
Who were they?
just wonderful people everywhere we went. Fishermen, little communities. We went, and it was just beautiful.
And some, you met hunters, like people who probably have been living the same life there like they did 500 years ago.
Yeah. we were in places where, this man had just like caught a narwhal.
What is that?
A whale.
It's a type of whale, right? The one with the thing?
Yeah, the unicorn of the sea.
Yeah.
And he just had, hunted him, and he was, feeding all the sled dogs and his families, and it's an incredible moment because, they're living exactly like human beings lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Nothing's changed for them. And
you recorded your album.
Yeah.
In your tiny cabin.
Yeah. Room 712.
I was going to call it Studio 712.
Studio 712.
And it was like the size of an airplane bathroom, right?
Oh, it was so tiny. It's like, it's kind of like, and you have two people in there. You have a bunkmate, and you're in like, it's kind of like, have you ever been in a motorhome where like the bathroom is also the shower, Like, you stand by the toilet and in the shower, it's all one room. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
In the bathroom, and then these two little bunks, and it was pretty tiny.
I want to show the viewers what it looked like, and then I want to talk more about the album. Let's take a look.
So this is our cabin. I built a recording studio out of some hair ties, some elastics, your camera tripod, thank you. I am making a record in here.
What was it like to make music? You're remembering the trials, I'm assuming. Why are you laughing?
Oh, I'm just laughing at me.
What was it like to make music in such a small space?
It's actually very much like being in a recording studio. There's many times you're in a studio and you get put in a little booth, right? You go in the little isolation booth to record. So it was fine. I was using like bathrobes to like make sound baffling. And I actually got a pretty decent recording once I got in that room and shut the porthole, and it was very quiet actually. Yeah.
And you had to, because of weight requirements, you couldn't take like traditional studio recording equipment in there. No. How did you make what did you take? How did you create a studio?
For instance, I couldn't bring mic stands because they're so heavy, right? So I was using camera tripods, and the girl next door lent me her hair ties to like tie up, hold the microphones on. And so I had two good microphones that were like this big, and I ran it through my laptop and stuff. And the recording came out pretty decent, looking at it that way.
But you also have like music that has brass and strings. Did you cram those into your cabin?
No. So when I was on the ship, I recorded all the guitar and my voice. So just kind of like a campfire versions. And then we brought those recordings back to Toronto. And then my friend Rob Carley, who does film score and orchestration, he added strings and brass and wrote arrangements to them all. So now it's much more beautiful sounding.
You mentioned a bathrobe. Is that what you use to like contain sounds?
Yeah.
To drown out sounds? How did you come up with that idea?
Well, you just need soft material, right? You want to get away from hard surfaces where sound reflects and bounces off. So towels.
Yeah. Are the sounds of the ship on the record?
Yeah. I recorded. I was always recording stuff with my phone. People talking, sled dogs barking, the ocean, the ice crushing. It's all in there. And so my field recordings are a part of the record too.
Now, how many musicians have recorded that north?
Is
it just you?
I think so. We were trying to check on the Guinness Book of World Records. Could be the most northern record ever made, above 80 degrees. I don't imagine. I bet it's definitely the first ever to be done on a Russian icebreaker.
Well, I know this idea came because Chris Hadfield wanted to get a bunch of artists to experience that opportunity and then to create whatever moved them.
Yeah.
When it was happening, did you realize how special it would be or how unique of an experience it would be?
I knew that I was involved in something really special. It took a while for it all to sink in. I didn't even take my guitar out of the case for the first week or so. I just got there and started absorbing it and like changing my life, like letting all my business affairs and stuff and my life, addicted to computers and machines go away, and I just started like living a different way, and then the songs slowly started coming.
What was the process like? Did you write the lyrics first, or did you make the music first, or did you spontaneous?
Kind of some one way, some the other way, some at the same time. They're all different.
The Russian crew, that man, the mighty Khlebnikov, how did you get along with them?
Great.
Yeah.
The Russian.
A lot of drinking?
No, some. The Russian people on the ship were just beautiful people. They're wonderful people, and in today's world with everything going on in politics and everything, don't let politics, confuse you with the beautiful people of a country somewhere. They're such great people, and we had so many fun times. There was some good times. I got invited for a birthday party of a man named Vladimir, who was 58, and I kind of befriended a few guys who worked in the kitchen, and then I was kind of in. And then I went down to the party, and it was just like in the hull of the boat, and they're all dancing to a ghetto blaster of like music I'd never heard. I've never heard before in my life. And they're eating reindeer and octopus and sardines and dancing, and it was a night I'll never forget.
You featured some of them on the album?
Yeah. Two of the dishwashers on the ship would sit around in the lounge one night when me and Chris were playing guitar and singing, and then they started singing Russian songs to us, these two young guys, and then I convinced them that they should sing on my record, and so they came into Studio 712.
It's great, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah. After a few late night vodkas maybe, and we got in there. And
Well, when you're singing, you have to, you know.
And we recorded some songs with them, and they're on the record, and yeah, it was a real blast.
Oh, we have some footage of that.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the fun.
Oh my gosh.
Дай-ка я разок посмотрю, как рождает поле зарю. Ай, брусничный свет, алый да рассвет, али есть то место, али его нет.
That's great. So Chris speaks fluent Russian, and so he was the perfect translator between those young guys and me, explaining what all the lyrics mean, and yeah.
Now, after spending so much time in such a small space, what did you learn about Russian culture that you didn't know before?
Oh, I mean, I learned a little Russian myself, but not enough to like get by.
That's fantastic.
And just wonderful people, really kind people that want that are just like us, want the same things we all want, and yeah.
That footage you just showed, what were you singing about?
Funny enough, those young guys, like they're these like 19-year-old tattooed dudes who work in the kitchen, and you'd think, when they start singing, when Chris explained to me what they're singing about, they're singing the songs they choose to sing that they love singing are these old traditional Russian songs, and they're singing, the lyrics are about riding their horse across the beautiful land of Russia, and all the flowing streams and the sunset and all this like beautiful poetic stuff, which I was like,
I know, it's touching.
Yeah, like looking at these guys, I'm like, that's not what I would have guessed you were singing about, and that's what was really cool about them. Their songs were like how proud they were of Russia. Yeah.
Who did you dedicate the album to?
Kind of many things. I mean, I just kind of dedicated it to all the people I met along the way, and the crew of the ship, all the communities, the people we met. But the ship, I really kind of fell for that ship. It's funny, it's just a thing, right? It's a machine. But to me, it was more than that. It was like, it had a beautiful life to it of its own with the crew and stuff. And yeah, I would go back in a second.
Really?
Yeah.
Even without internet or access to all our...
That was kind of the best part.
Really?
After a week.
Why?
It was really interesting. The first week was kind of tough. You find yourself looking at your phone and then going, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. And it just becomes a camera at that point. And after about a week, that kind of went away, and I just felt more present. I felt like I was having real conversations. I was in the moment, and I wasn't distracted. And that was a really nice thing. And we all agreed on that. We all felt the same way, and we all thought, when we get home, we kind of didn't want to go turn them on again. And we all kind of promised, we're going to change our habits, the way we use it. And it's been hard to not get sucked back into the way the world works with all that stuff.
So you would say it was a life-changing experience?
Yeah, for sure.
Now that you're back down south, what do you feel Generator Arctic was able to accomplish?
Well, I would say that we were able to come back and share this special little corner of the planet that not many people get to see with people in a pretty big way. Videographer Ben Brown, who was on the trip, who has like millions of followers online. He's created these beautiful videos. He was at the Toronto Film Festival. Photographers from Italy, from New York, science guy from England. Everyone has taken, and I made a record. We all took this experience and turned it into stuff, and just have like pushed it out into the world. And I think between us all, we've reached a lot of people. So hopefully it's beautiful to share that. Going up there and having that personal experience by yourself, and then coming back and just like kind of keeping that to yourself is, I don't know, it's your kind of duty if you get to do something like that, to share it with people. I mean, it's the same with Chris when he was on the space station. He would make all those great videos and show everybody how does the toilet work in space? How do you brush your teeth? How do you sleep? How do you do everything in space? And to me, that was, like I said, his duty. It's kind of like you have an experience like that, you got to share it with everybody. So he definitely is an inspiring guy, and he inspired us all to follow in his footsteps with that.
This is something that I didn't know. Something like 90% of Canadians live within 160 kilometers of the U.S. border. What don't we understand about our Arctic? It's
just so immense. If you get out a map and start really looking at how big Ontario is, and then how big the Arctic is, and it's hard to get your head around. And I think global warming for people in the world, it's hard for people, like, the debate, if you believe in it or not. The debate about it is, I can understand why people don't understand, because we're talking about something, it's like debating stuff that happens on the moon. Like, people don't, if everyone got to go there and travel there, obviously their views would change, and but it's so foreign to us, and people are so unqualified and uneducated about it to talk about it. It's hard to like argue it, but we got to do the best we can do, right?
But now with this project, like you said, it's going to reach a lot of people.
Yeah.
You released this album earlier this year. You performed it with a chamber orchestra in Toronto in February.
Yeah.
Where are you taking it next?
In July, we're doing it in Ottawa with a symphony. In Vancouver, we're doing it with a symphony, and there's some other things in the go. So this is something I never dreamed of. I mean, I'm a folky singer-songwriter, and so the idea that I was going to try to make a classical-based record, and then it would turn out that I'm playing it with symphonies and Chris Hadfield. It's like
it's mind blown, right?
It's like okay.
Is this my life?
Yeah, this is my life right now.
Yeah.
Cool. It's pretty fantastic.
I want to show you making some music.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Nobody rules you. Stay if you wanna stay. Leave if you wanna leave. Go where you wanna go. Try if you wanna try. Quit if you wanna quit. And know when you don't know.
How do you feel watching that?
That was a great moment, because that was filmed, that was completely unplanned. it's really cold. You can hear the guitars out of tune in the cold. One of the passengers on the ship walked up to me and said, have you looked out the back of the ship right now? How beautiful it is right now? And he said, why are you not, you should film a video right now out there. And I was like, well, I wasn't ready to film a video. And he goes, just quick, grab your guitar and sing a song. Just sing a song, any song. You got to get this moment. And I got to thank him for that. A guy named Tango, Aaron Tango talked me into that. And he filmed it, that's just the audio of his camera. So it's really a little rough, but
no, it sounds fantastic.
It's
What a moment.
It's beautiful to watch, yeah. And I look back and I'm like, wow, that was beautiful.
Well, it's really nice talking to you.
Thank
and
you. It's great to talk to you.
I mean, I have so many more questions to ask you. I just think it's such a, if all of us could get that opportunity to see it firsthand, maybe we would take care of the planet a bit better. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Danny Michel, great music.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
It's great to see you again. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.